Hi, guys. Welcome back to My Steps to Sobriety, my show on YouTube and as a podcast. And with me, your host, Stefan Neff. Today is another fantastic day for an interview. And it's going to be an intriguing and beautiful interview. I know that already because I've got Andrew Mondia with me. Andrew is an international actor. He is a writer. He is a man of many, many talents. But he's also a man who hasn't always had an easy life, like so many of us. And therefore, I'm so intrigued to hear about the lessons that he learned the hard way and the transformation that led to him being an actor, going out there, taking on the bull by its horns and having a great life, including coming onto my show. Hell, I'm honored here. So Andrew, welcome to my show.
Thank you for having me. It's really awesome to be here.
Yeah.
You're such a wonderful host, and it's such a joy to be here and it's really comfortable to be here, and I'm so happy to share with your audience, and hopefully they get to take away something that they never thought possible.
Exactly. Now, I had to pay him a lot to say that. Okay, so guys, so just listen to that. It is with pearls of wisdom. That's all I can say. I'm kidding. No money is exchanging hands. Instead, honest words are on the cards here, because you have lived a full life and you're in the middle of it as we speak here. But I want to go a little bit back when you were a young man as in 8, 9, 10. Who did you want to be when you grow up? What did you want to be? What was your dream?
Actually, I didn't really know what I wanted to do when I was 8 or 9 or 10. When I was 11 years old, I got into the world of being on stage in a children's musical theater production of The Snow Queen when I lived in near Victoria, BC. And as you can say, the bug hit me. I mean, that was like my first acting experience. But earlier in my life, I was into singing. Singing was my earlier forte, and a lot of it, a lot of what, like when it comes to my acting, a lot of it is inspired by my paternal grandfather, who I just adored and loved, and he was the biggest inspiration. And it wasn't until I was 14 when he passed away that I decided to pursue it as a career.
Was he a thespian himself? Did he love the stage? Was he an actor?
No, he played the accordion. He actually lived in Switzerland.
Oh, I lived good man.
So we I come from a very big international family. I have a quarter, I go in pies. If you look at your grandparents, okay, or you so a quarter is in the US, and the rest are over in Switzerland. And me and my siblings grew up in the western part of Canada, on Vancouver Island near Victoria. And so we didn't have any family around, but I was the one that was probably more closer to my grandfather, and he just lived in Switzerland. So I only saw him a few times. But, it's interesting, the connection that you can bond with someone. And I always wondered why that was, why I was so enamored with my grandfather. And I actually found out that after I was born in a rural area off the coast of eastern tip of Vancouver Island, in a place called Alert Bay. It's a very small little itty tiny island. So we left there and we moved to Switzerland, and I was baptized. So for a year, while my parents were running this restaurant in a place called Irolo, my paternal grandparents were taking care of me. And, you don't realize it, because I even talked to my mother about it a couple of years ago. And she actually had this strong connection with, she actually mentioned she had this strong connection with someone. I mean, and she couldn't figure out why. And it turned out that that lady had actually taken care of her when she was a toddler. And it's like, you know, and I'm asking the audience, have you ever come across a situation where you've had this really like strong connection with someone? Think about it. Think about the people that you meet, because sometimes, you know, you'll have that. And it's just amazing when you discover what that reason is.
Isn't it? And there's, I mean, it's the 7 connections that are essentially between us and anyone in this world. I've never actually worked it out if that is really holding true for me and how much it holds true, but I certainly can vouch for what you've been saying. The things that are being laid down at a very early stage in our life come back to accompany us. Some of them may haunt us, some of them may strengthen us. But they certainly are part of us, far more so than I actually cared to accept and cared to acknowledge. It takes typically darkness before you realize it.
Yeah, but I it's important to realize, even if you like, there are parts of myself that we'll talk about later on in the conversation probably that I never really accepted. But then once I started to accept it, it was, you know, you became more true to yourself. Because growing up, you know, there was a period in my life where I didn't know, like when I was in like high school, I didn't know who I was. I literally did not, like, I knew what I wanted to do, but who I was, I didn't know. And a lot had to do with the trauma as a child, and certain events as well. And I've been having to unravel and move forward. I mean, I just, you know, I'm very outgoing, but I also hurt deep inside, and some of it I, you know, put a barrier as a result.
I know, having read up on you and researched you a little bit, that certainly bullying unfortunately affected you in your past. When did that start manifesting? When did that, at which time in your childhood did that come on board?
I think it was, you know, mainly when I was in grade 6 and 7, where it was the most impactful for me. But it was not just the bullying at school. It was like the fact that my father was an alcoholic, and he physically and emotionally abused me. Now, I keep wanting to dismiss it because it was just a few times I was physical. It wasn't as bad as probably some other people where it's really physical, but still, when it's physical, it can really, people don't understand how deep it can really affect you. And there was a moment when I was in grade 7. It was actually a few months before my grandfather passed away, when I actually tried to commit suicide.
Grade 7. So you started at year 6, age of 6. So 6 plus 6 plus 7, or 6 plus 7 is 12, 13, about that age?
I was 13. I was kept back a grade.
Right.
At the time when I was kept back, I was living in Vancouver, and I went for kindergarten and grade 1. I went to this private Catholic school up close to UBC in Vancouver, and so I was kept back a grade. So I was 13 and I was in grade 7, and I didn't think I wanted to talk about it at that time, but apparently I did. But my father was the one that convinced me not to actually go anymore to a counselor. I don't know. I just know that I remember talking to someone, but it was, I remember the day, most of it, like the part where it was very traumatizing to the part where the actions that I did to try and end my life.
What triggered that? What led to this spiral? Was it a spiral, or was it such a catastrophic sudden event that led your mood to just so deteriorate?
I've been. It might have been just I wrote my own like a few about 5 years ago. More than that, maybe 8 years ago. I was in the process of rewriting and working on a one-man show, and I actually made a poem out of it. But it was I was at school, and kids were being kids. They were teasing and bullying. Not really bullying, but they were just teasing. I don't remember what kind of questions they were, but I was just ignoring them, trying my best to not and there was a bunch of them, and here was little me. I was like, I'm not that tall, I'm 5'4". And I was not one to want to get into fights, and if I did, it was the wrong way. I mean, I was in grade 6 and accidentally hit a girl for no reason. I'm just like, I punched her, and oh my God, that was the worst. That was the most embarrassing thing. I was like, she didn't deserve it, and but I just, I just blew my top, and I went to the end of the room. I lifted a chair, and when I realized what I was doing, I put it down and I left the room because I was ashamed, and I was just, I was mortified, and I was beside myself. And when I don't remember what exactly I did in the afternoon when it happened. Honestly, I just remember that my mom wasn't home. My dad had come home from drinking at the pub. He did his usual routine and went to his room, turned on the TV, and fell asleep in front of the TV. My sister, I think she was somewhere with their friends. We lived on close to a 2-acre property, close to the ferry, BC ferries, near Sydney, and so we had a huge, nice sized property, and I went to the shed, grabbed the can of gasoline, had my duvet, dunked this duvet with gasoline, put it out down on the field, had a match with me, and I was going to light myself to death. Thank God it didn't happen, and thank God it probably went to burn me to death, to be honest with you, because when I look back, it's like, I don't think that would actually burn you to death, really. But it was just, I was just beside myself. I did find out that apparently I called a friend, and he was concerned, and his mother called me and was checking to be sure everything was okay. But I just was like, and once when the duvet was burning, I just had this fright come over me, and that's what stopped me from actually going into the flames.
My goodness. Wow. It's hard to imagine that a single event, however mortifying it would have been, would have led to that decision, that some conscious action. So I think it's fair to say that there were quite a few things happening leading up to that, and putting you into that place where you felt so desperate that it was kind of in your own mind to stop it all. You probably didn't phrase it in such words, but something must have been the underlying current of neurochemicals that were washing over your brain at that time. What So you were saying that your dad said something about talking and counseling. Was that in relation to that suicide attempt? Was that earlier leading up to it, or was that afterwards? How did you seek help? Did you get any help at all?
What the thing is there, at that time, my mother was the one who, my dad didn't really believe, my dad's not really into the new age stuff. He to be honest with you, he was drinking because he was masking his own issues. He had his own issues that he was dealing with. And so my mother was the catalyst. She found a counselor for me to go talk to, and apparently the counselor wanted my dad in at a session, and he just like, this isn't for me. He wasn't in that space. And I mean, I was still like, honestly, like growing up, I was in my own, like there was a certain point in my life when I was in my own bubble. So I didn't know what was going on too much. I didn't know that my grandfather at that time was sick. I was just being a kid. And it's amazing, as an adult, it's amazing when you realize that our bodies impermeate whatever's going on. If we feel like something's off, but we don't deal with it, and we keep putting off, and I can attest to it in my later years, and we don't act like we are all born with the gift of intuition. We are all born with the gift to know what is right and to do stuff, but we're not taught to actually trust our natural abilities. I mean, sometimes we're taught, just dismiss it. Oh, it's nothing. But it's something, and it's important that we honor ourselves, because if we don't honor ourselves and have respect for what we are inspired, what the actions are we inspire, like, there are so many times in the that I can say where I didn't listen to my intuition. I mean, more recently, I got scammed. I got scammed from a dating app, and I'm like, so it's. I mean, but we all do it. We all do it. That's all I can say.
I think you said quite a few things there that we could follow through there. It is, I think, I want to stay a bit in your childhood there, because when in relation to that trauma was the acting happening? When was your first first stage appearance?
Well, I was acting. Okay, I was doing my performance. Like I was in grade 5 when I did the Snow Queen.
Right.
And then I did the Wizard of Oz.
Ah, nice. Okay.
Then I did and then I did something over the summer called the Squamble Tattoo. Then I was in Bye Bye Birdie. And then I did, and when I did Bye Bye Birdie, and then I did another school production, in the spring. So I every year I was doing something.
Brilliant. What was the acting giving you?
And
was it an escape for you? Was it a basically escaping your own reality?
Well, it was, I don't know. It was a chance for me to have fun and do something different. It was like, the thing is, because my grandfather, he was into singing, and he was into playing the accordion. I even have a distant relative in Switzerland who is an Italian like pop star, and she's been on like
excellent
Christmas concert special. I haven't actually met this cousin relative of mine. We talked once on the phone back in 2014, just before I was on my way to go see my aunt who was dying. But it's just, so it sort of runs in the family. I mean, entertainment as like, I've always enjoyed bringing light into people's lives, making them happy. I would talk to anyone on the bus. I mean, when I um, when I when I was graduating from high school, going into the real world, a cousin from the States came up with my aunt, uncle, and my grandmother to my graduation, and her and I went to Vancouver for a day trip, and she was amazed that I would talk to anyone. I mean, it's like, oh my God. I mean, it's like, I just like to talk to people. I mean, for me, it's just that I, like even when I'm working, I like to talk to people, I inspire people, and it's just always something that I love to do. It was always,
Sure.
I think it's just a natural gift. And when you discover what you're natural at,
Sure.
Why deny people your natural gifts when
Sure.
you were born with it to do something great and magnificent?
Oh, absolutely. And that's beautiful. So you play to your strengths, absolutely. And after all, when you're taking on that role, even at a young age, you put a smile on other people's faces, and that makes you
Yes.
feel good. It enriches you. It makes you warm and fuzzy in all the right places, and it's beautiful. Absolutely beautiful. The problem is your problems don't go away. You're often enough focusing so much on others because, in my case, certainly because I felt powerless as far as my own problems were concerned. So it's very easy to escape. Initially, for me, it was martial arts. I escaped into the training and I escaped into work. Well, at that time, I called it school. But I focused on school, focused on martial arts. Then I didn't have to focus on my problems. And later on, however, I unfortunately exchanged the martial arts for alcohol because, again, it was the same pattern. Rather than dealing with something, I rather wanted to escape from it. Um, does that sound
Yeah,
familiar to you?
yeah. Well, that's one of the reasons why I don't drink alcohol, because I honestly don't think I'm not that very good of an alcoholic. Mind you, I'm a funny alcoholic drinker. Honestly, I mean, I would just like, yeah, what's going? It's like so cool. That's like, you lose your inhibition. I actually lose my inhibitions when I drink alcohol. And you know what? If you wanted me to do like, I mean, the first time I actually drank alcohol was at my after grad party. I got a little drunk, and fortunately, someone there had said, "You know what?" Because it was like I was up like for 23 hours straight almost, and but they by the time I went to sleep, but the person there had highly said, "You know what? It's better if you have something to eat and before you go," because I was driving, and fortunately, I had a friend in the car with me, so I had to make sure that I was alert enough. And I had a couple of times where I almost went off the road.
Yeah.
But it was just, but yeah, it's,
So
I
how did
lost my
you?
train of thought now.
No. How did you escape? There is no way that you go through a life of trauma, of bullying, to a point that
Actually,
indeed
okay, my escape was TV.
TV.
I was like, I loved watching TV shows. I was like, I'm pretty much like, and that's part of the reason why I like acting is, I mean, I sort of thought, oh, maybe I'm adopted. At one point I had the thought I was adopted, and
Yeah.
I'd like, it would be nice to live that kind of life. And I, I literally, you know what, I created a bubble is how I protected myself.
Uh,
Um, I was socially awkward, so I didn't really, as much as I didn't have a lot of friends,
yeah.
at least I thought I didn't have, because when I left high school, I'm like, all of a sudden I'm friends with some of the people I never really hung out with
Mm.
in high school, and we connected, we talk, and it's like, how's it going? No problem. But it's like at that time, I go to school, I would socialize with the kids at school, but then when I come home, I wouldn't really do anything special. And if I got into a production of some sort, I would go to the rehearsals, and that would be my thing. And I did, during the years when it was very traumatic for me. My parents ran a restaurant for a couple of years. And so sometimes I would help out at the restaurant. And then I know in high school, I got a job. I loved this job. I was working in a library shelving books, and it was the most meditating experience shelving books. It was nice, quiet. I shelve books, although sometimes I would find a book that's like, oh, this is a really good book. Maybe I should get it out of the library. And so it's like, but it was, I was at this job all throughout high school. But it was, but it's just, I think when I really started to address it is at the second crux in milestone in my life, really. That's when I started to address it, because with my acting, I was so in my head. I was so worried. I was a people pleaser. I mean, it's okay to want to please people, but we shouldn't do it at the expense of our own dignity, self-respect. Because when we don't honor what our true feelings are and we set the boundaries, it can be very taxing on you. I love my aunt who passed away back in 2014. She actually died on when I flew over to go my first flight going from Switzerland to St. Louis. She cared for people, but she had her own issues. I saw this firsthand growing up, because I hung out with her. I was the only one in my family who actually had a really close relationship. I was down in St. Louis for a couple of summers. Her house turned in by the end of her life. If you've ever seen the movie or the show Grey's Garden, and there's actually a documentary back in the I think it was in the year that I was born in 75, but it was in the 70s. It was a mother and daughter who were cousins of Jackie Kennedy Onassis, and they lived, and Grey's Garden was based on their story. So they were living the life. They had everything wonderful. Then things started to happen, and they lived in a pigsty. They were hoarders, and my aunt was a hoarder. There was issues that she was going through that she would not deal with, and it's very sad when people are in such a state, and it's just and they're in that rut. So,
but that's whatever strange quotation mark behavior we see in others or even experience in ourselves. These behaviors are there for a reason. They serve a purpose. They serve to be the security blanket, or they serve to be the distraction or the escapism or whatever there is at that moment in time. It means something for that person. And that's often something that we keep forgetting. So I love it how you say that your aunt has had her own issues, because no doubt it would be interesting to talk to her with hindsight today, how she felt about all those things that she kept. There was certainly a reason there, and I think that's so important for us to realize when you have got addiction. People look down on you. When you've got mental health problems, there's still taboos. People look down on your depression. Just, come on, snap out of it and shit like that. No, there is a damn good reason.
Even suicide is one topic that people don't want it. People are in denial, and that's why I'm choosing to share my story, because it's we're real people, and we each have our own journey, our own story. I did not write my aunt off like some people did, or like she did with other people. I just, you know what,
Mm.
when we talked, we talked. When we didn't, we talked. It was just, you know, she's my aunt. I loved her no matter what. I gave her unconditional love.
Mm.
I mean, we had our moments. Like it was, we had our funny moments, but it was just like,
Mm.
you know, I truly loved her, and also part of the reason is she was my godmother as well. So that's another reason why she and I had the connection. But I chose to see beyond whatever it was that created the havoc in her life,
Mm.
and you know, and I just loved her for who she was, because that's the most important thing. I mean, we can inspire people to take action to better their lives, but at the end of the day, it's an individual choice that we have. Um, and sometimes they may not get it, and other times they may get it. I mean, I've had people tell me things a few times. I look at it when I get stuff crossing my path a few times, then I need to take it seriously, literally seriously, because if it's the universe, you know, um, in 2003, I read this book by this actress and author, Kay Callan. She wrote a book on how to sell yourself as an actor. And when I left high school and when I decided to move in 97 to Vancouver so I can like finally go out into the world and you know, pursue the career, because I was served, you know, I was doing what my mother had wanted me to do, because like no one really supported me that like heavily. Although my Nona, my mom's mother, my maternal grandmother, who speaks Italian, so I talk about the Italian grandparents' name. So she actually support. She gave me she helped pay for like singing, doing a group singing lessons in Victoria. So it's like, but I just chose to pursue acting, and acting was everything for me. And I was like, I want to be an actor, and I was so in my head. And I decided to, you know, when I read this book, I decided to wait a minute. I was like, my life was taking a back seat to my acting. And, you know, no matter what job you do, okay, this is something for everyone in any job, okay? If you're so consumed with the job that you're in, that you letting your life take a back seat, it's important that we live our life and let the work like follow, if you know what I mean.
Very much so. I mean, after all, the holy grail of the work-life balance. And it's so hard because there are times in your life when you literally need to lay down the foundations of a career. You can't just say, I'm sorry, I'm only working 24 hours this week because really I need to look after myself. Well, if you want to, let's say you want to buy your first house as a real estate investor, or if you want to land a good role as an actor, well, if no one knows you, then you won't get very far. So you probably take a lot of roles, you know, there, isn't it?
What I mean by living your life, it's like, you know, like I haven't yet gotten up there in the big times with the acting career. I've only done little things here, little things there. They've been really good stuff. But I just like, you live your life, and so, you know, you take a job that you would that you're okay with doing, and you work on what it is that you love to do on the side. Because, you know, one of the things, like when I moved in 2006, I moved to London, England, and I became a passion test facilitator. And it's all about going within yourself and discovering what your top 5 passions are. And, you know, it's about, you know, working on getting those passions going so that way you can actually make a career. But when I say live in your life, you know, we're still going to work, but you know what, outside of that, do some other stuff other than your work.
Because that is your why. That is why you do what you do. If you have never done that work to actually figure that out, what is your passion? What is driving you? What are the core beliefs that are behind your emotions? All the work that is such a key ingredient to understanding yourself. You will just tread water. You're not swimming in any one direction. You're just getting thrown around with the current. And that is, yeah, it's okay. It's a life that many people live. Is that really the life that I want to live? No. Nowadays, I live with far more intention, and I think so do you. And I love that you point out that you actually shouldn't forget the other parts that make you. You are not just and I'll put the job in there, whatever your job is. Yes, it's quite nice to focus on that career, but you have also got other roles, other privileges. Are you a son? Are you a husband? Are you a father, a mother? Are you, who are you? When I went into rehab and people asked me, well, who are you? I said, I'm a pain physician. I'm an anesthetist and pain physician. Yeah, that's what I am. And no, who are you? I said, I just told you. I could only identify with my job. I was a hollow shell. And that is what you're referring to. Now, if you lose yourself like that, you pay a very dear price down the line, because inevitably you are no longer in control. You're just basically floating around, bobbing like a cork on the sea.
Yeah, well, when I read that book a year later, I had, as I mentioned about the crux of my life, I had a sort of mental breakdown at work where I ended up taking a few months off work. And I finally accepted my own sexuality. And I accepted being gay. I mean, I was still, you know, I started to explore just at the end of grade 12. But I was in denial. I wasn't, you know, I remember actually some kids were joking, but they were being very serious about, like, I guess they could see my sexuality back then. And I was totally unaware, but I wasn't accepting of myself. And I just, you know, I lived my life and, you know.
Was that a problem at that time? Was there still, was that when you were still in Canada, in Vancouver, or was it already in the UK?
I came to terms when I lived in Vancouver.
Right.
But because I went to this, and how I came to terms is I went to this choral event. It was called Gala. It's a gay and lesbian choral event.
Nice.
And it was actually in Montreal. And I was around like a lot of gays and lesbians. I mean, I'd started to sing in a gay men's choir when I lived in Vancouver.
Right.
And I just was like, I hadn't even told my immediate family. And when I came back from my trip, I actually shocked my cousins. My cousin and his fiance at that time, well, they're married now, because I invited to this choral event, didn't tell them that it was a gay and lesbian event. And it was at this beautiful cathedral in Montreal called Notre Dame. And they were like, because my mom told, like, when I, afterwards, like, my mom was like, you know, they were wondering what was going on. Is this normal? There was like gay people, like same-sex people kissing each other, and it was like I'm like, oh my God, I just was like, but it was you know, our own sexuality is also like, I grew up in the Catholic religion, and I thought I grew up with the dream of having my own kids, being in a loving relationship, like almost like Leave It to Beaver type family atmosphere, or the musical I did, Bye Bye Birdie, where the mother, father, and two kids. But it was just, sometimes, sometimes life brings us more
Yeah.
joy into it, or something unexpected that we never really
Yeah.
think to expect. And so,
How was
yeah.
the atmosphere? I mean, here you were in, Vancouver I had the pleasure of visiting the town, and certainly the LGBT community was very clear, obvious, open, rainbows everywhere, a bit exaggerated, but close. So it seemed to be a very free town compared with the UK in the 80s and 90s, where gay bashing and queer bashing was still a national pastime. So it's interesting that you chose London to go overseas. What were your experiences as a young gay man there?
Well, actually, at that time, London is very open.
Okay.
It's, I mean, there are people like accepting. It's like a lot has happened. I mean, a lot has changed, even like on TV and the media. I mean, it's like in our era, we grew up in a time where people were stereotyped, like blondes are dumb. Well, excuse me, not all blondes are dumb. I mean, it's like, if you wear glasses, you're a nerd, and you're easy to pick on. It's like, so it was like for me, the thing is, when I lived in Vancouver at the time I came out, I knew that Vancouver, like, I got really spiritual into New Age, and this is and so this is probably a topic for another conversation. But I got into the energy, like, as you can probably tell by the conversation, I'm a feeling person, which is clairsentient. I'm also claircognizance, which is knowing. We all have these gifts when it comes to, like clairvoyance and clairaudience. I mean, you hear stuff, and sometimes you hear stuff that you think that someone else is talking to you, and you think, oh my God, I must be going crazy. But really, it's just, I believe in the spirits around. I mean, when it came to my suicide, I do believe that it was the spirits around. It was their way to protect me from killing myself, because I was meant to be here to be a voice, to inspire people, and to talk about suicide, surviving, wanting to die. That's the title of something that I'm working on, like telling my story. But it's just it's important that we move through life according to our own terms and what we want to do.
Sure.
And when I moved to Vancouver, I remember my high school dance teacher. I talked to her the night before my birthday, and there was something she said that flipped the light switch in my head. I mean, literally, it's like when my grandfather died when I was in grade 8. It's like, there are events in your life when the light switch will turn on, or when this is what I want to do. And it's important that we honor that and follow through with it, because you never know where it can lead you.
Agreed. And in all fairness, I mean, there is whatever gives you the strength to continue. Some people have imaginary friends, such as Jesus Christ or Allah or other things. Others of us, they maybe more are in tune with frequencies around us and with energy fields around us. And you think, come on, you're talking what a rubbish. Well, if I would take, let's say, my grandparents, and I could go back in time and I would tell them, one day you're going to have a piece of some weird thing we call plastic, and there's going to be food is in there. You don't have to hunt it, kill it. You don't have to grow it. It's all in there. And then you put it into another box, and you press a button, and it goes for 5 minutes, and then you take it out, and it's going to be steaming hot, and you can't recognize what you're eating, but it's called food. people would have looked at, my grandparents would have looked at me and said, have you lost your bloody marbles? Okay. So at that time, microwaves, crazy, crazy. Nowadays, we take it for granted. You use all kind of frequencies in your daily life and don't think twice about it. Yet when it comes to actually using our mind to taking on certain energies or dealing with energies or just expanding your mind towards such topics, suddenly we are still deemed a bit strange and out there, and that's actually a heap of baloney. So I love that you found that energy focus that gave you hope and gave you a way to think, a way to meditate, a new tribe of people to connect with. All those are so important. So you not only do meditate, but you also do meditate in a certain style where other people recognize that you do that. You, as a healer, you use your skills in a certain way that others benefit from it, and so on. It is your own tribe. And that is a beautiful, beautiful thing to belong to.
Well, I have to be honest with you, I'm still working on finding that tribe. I just, you know what, for me, I just go out there and share my message wherever right now. And, you know, just to come on like your wonderful podcast, Steps to Sobriety. You know, I'm not, you know, I just sharing my story because, you know, we each have a story to tell because our stories can inspire other people.
Shit, yeah.
And it's, and I think, you know, we shouldn't dismiss our own stories. We shouldn't feel ashamed. I mean, there are movies where people are shamed and they're like, you know, we're so caught up. Like, if we're so caught up in being a victim in our lives, we're missing the joy in the life that could happen, that could blossom.
Absolutely.
Like instead of having rotten fruit, we can have a bowl of tropical fruit right there at our fingertips.
So true, man. So true. So, who is the new Andrew Mondia going to be? So we are all on our journey. So we are all developing. We are all changing, transforming as in front of our eyes. So, who do you want to be when you grow up?
Like for me, I'm just, you know, it's just important that I'm me. I'm Andrew Mondia, soon to be living in Montreal. Because it's where I'm going back to the place where I accepted myself. I'm being led, using my intuition has guided me to go there, and who knows? I just, you know, the past couple of years I've been healing and more accepting of myself, being more like understanding, like, you know, honoring myself. Because one of the things that I learned in the past couple of years, because about a year and a half ago, I was in a car accident. So I've been healing from a brain injury. And, you know, when we have, I don't mean for our show to go over a long time.
Not at all.
It's, you know, it's, when we have big events in our lives, it's the universe waking us up. It's trying to course correct and say, wake up, this is something that needs to be addressed, or like, it just, you know, it's time to grow. And we're growing constantly. The more we grow, the more we come into tune with ourselves. And this time it was about, I got into owning what is known as the God of me, because we are, you know, or we are the spirit, we are the energies. We each are connected energetically. We each have this, you know, energy field, and the more we expand it so we can enjoy life, the more big and the more expansive we can become. I mean, when I lived in Vancouver, I was working at this grocery store called Safeway. When I left and I went to London, a friend and a colleague at that work, she came and visited me, and she literally could see the change from working at a job that was sucking the life out of me. When I decided to move, it inspired her, and she, like, I remember it clearly because we were going to skate. I went to see the musical Sister Act with Whoopi Goldberg and the mother of Mother Superior. I had set my intention. This is back in 2010. And it's, you know, I had set my intention that I wanted to see Whoopi Goldberg, but I had, at the time that she was doing her run, I was up in Edinburgh at the Fringe Festival there, but anyways, when my and she had left early for a family emergency. But when my friend, we were before the show, she saw me. It's like, wow, you're glowing. I mean, what did you do? It's like, I don't know what I did. You know, for me, I just do things that feel right, and I just move along and I move forward. Yes, you know what? We're all going to have our ups and downs, but it's, you know, but it's a part of the journey. It's a part of the life, because one, we're not always going to be up positive. We have to be. It's a roller coaster. That's what it is. You know when you go on a roller coaster, you go up, and then you go down really fast. Then you go up slowly. It's going up again, and then you go down, and you and that's what life is. It's a roller coaster to guide us, to enjoy us. I mean, when we meet people, having fun, going to a theme park, amusement park. I mean, I like going to Disneyland, just in case anyone wants to know what's my favorite Disney park. I'm a huge Disney fan. Okay, so but that's what life is. It's an adventure.
I had, up until this moment, not realized the truth in you saying the emotional roller coaster. We always accept it for what it is. But if you actually look at the speed with which the roller coaster goes up, it's quite slow sometimes and a bit boring. When it goes down in a hell of a way. Maybe my life is actually quite spectacular like that too. Certainly lots of screams and lots of nice things. Shit. Okay. I like that speed factor that is involved there. It made me think and makes me chuckle, in all fairness. Oh, wow. So, well, yeah, exactly, man. It is so, fantastic. So okay, if you could write a role for yourself and create the superb role, who would you love to play? Who would you love to be? Are you a hero or are you a villain?
I'm both. I'm a hero, but I'm also a villain, because as a villain, I want to make people think. I want to, because villains are there to challenge the heroes as well. I have no idea the kind of role, but the one role that seemed to come to mind is playing a teacher on TV, almost like Mr. Feeney on the Wonder Years TV show.
I don't know. So it's not Breaking Bad.
Or no, it's not Breaking Bad. It's an old TV show. There was also a show called, if you see any of those like high school TV shows and they have a teacher that's there to inspire them. I mean, the most recent TV show that I've been watching is a show called Good Trouble. And one of the characters was a teacher, and she was there to inspire people. And in the most recent episode, she got fired because of like being who she was, and people weren't accepting it. Sometimes shows, they have really valuable lessons in life. And for me, I just want to inspire and, be on a show that it's that really has a message for the audience. And it's not just the show that is there to make money, but they're there to, tell a story that needs to be told and bring stuff to light for people and to inspire, almost like Touched by an Angel or Highway to Heaven, those kind because, I remember both those shows, like especially Touched by an Angel, where there was like a character, there was a different there was like three main characters, and every episode there was something new to learn, and
Mm.
and it's just so inspiring, and it's just
True. True.
I mean, there's lots of good, there is lots of good TV out
Mm.
there. I mean, it's just
Mm.
and
But
I've
interesting.
had the pleasure.
Touched by an Angel. I think they've only had one season, isn't it? One or two seasons.
No,
No.
I don't think so. I think it had a few. It was on for quite a while.
Oh, was it? Okay, sorry. Then I was under the impression, because you've got other series that are running forever, and you think, why the hell do they attract so much attention and support, and therefore funding, and whilst other things sort of really things that are supposed to maybe make the audience learn and reflect are often cut off. But I'm pleased that this was a prejudice of mine and maybe misinformation of mine. I'm really pleased that this does not seem to be the case.
Yeah, well, it's really sad that there are some really good shows that only lasted a season.
Yeah.
And the ones that are crappy last longer. And you know what? In the TV world, it all comes down to like the funding. Like whether there is, like, for instance, there's a reboot of The Fresh Prince of Bel-Air, and it's actually a pretty good reboot that they did, because it went from a comedy and went in, and became a drama. And the way the story's being told, it's I kind of wish it was a drama versus a comedy to begin with, because but at the same time, it's nice to see the parallels and the differences you have. So, but yeah, I just, who knows where things will lead when it comes to my acting and the roles, because I don't want to pigeonhole myself in just being a hero.
Oh, absolutely.
Because it's like we all have the villain in us. We all have the hero in us. But it's the hero that will get us through life.
But you need to have that villain as well, because there needs to be that nasty person in you, because there are times when he has to come out and needs to play, when Mr. Nice Guy is needing to move to the side. And hopefully there are not many situations in our lives when we need the hard-nosed, brutal bastard in us. But he plays a role, and he serves a need. So please, and that's why I love what you're saying. You've got that yin and yang concept quite nicely down to a fine art. Because yes, I want to be a good man and I want to be a hero, but I have a very dark side to myself as well. Luckily, it's a small blot, and I keep the dark dude well and truly in the dungeon. From now and then he comes out to play, but most of the time he's locked away and is quite happy down there in the deep dark recesses of my brain. I enjoy life so much more, and that there we're coming back to the work-life balance. It is so important that we learn about ourselves and live towards that person who we want to be, who we aspire to be. So who do you think that is for you in your case? Who do you want to be in 5 years' time?
Well, that is a really good question, because I would like to be in like successful in a TV show, and mind you, I inspire people every day of my life. I inspire the people that cross my path, and for me, I think just enjoying the moment, because if we look to the future, and we like, it's good to have that goal. Don't get me wrong. It's good to have that goal to work towards it. But I think, when I was young, I was always, I want to get to Z. Skip A, B, C, D, E, F, G, whatever, all the letters. I want to get to Z. And, I was like, and my meditations were like guided meditations. But since 2016, when I did Vipassana meditation, I've been just, I've been almost like a Mexican, because apparently in Mexico, it's like, it happens, when it happens, it happens. And, I've been more in the flow of life, enjoying the flow of life. And,
Yeah.
because I thought, I'd always wanted to move down to LA, because it's where the entertainment capital of the world, but entertainment is everywhere. It's not, we don't have to go to Hollywood to be an actor. We can go, to a big spot nearby, wherever you are in the world. I mean, there's something, and there's someone there, and we can and also create. So I'd like to create something for people, maybe update my one-man show so it's a little bit better, because I found, one of the things that is challenging is to connect with ourselves. And when we connect with ourselves, what we do in 5 years, it'll be magical and a wonderful experience.
Sure. And you don't know, because it's such a meandering path. You cannot say, because
it's a roller coaster.
Oh, true. With a lot of bends, and you can't see around them. And there's some black spots in there too, some tunnels where you just don't see bugger all. So that is at least my experience in the last 8 years. And guess what? I wouldn't have it any other way, because that is where the juice is. That is where I grow, and where I don't know what comes next. What I do know is right now I live with intention. Right now I'm sitting here. I enjoy talking to you. Right now I'm focused absolutely on here. And when this interview is finished, then what is the next thing that I want to live for and right now do? I've already taken my wife out for some late lunch. And, there's a flyby planned today of some warplanes going over us, some World War II. So we'll probably look at that. I will do so with intention. I'm not thinking about the past or the future. I will be there and then in the presence. And that is a beautiful, beautiful place to be. But out of each of these things, there come connections, and out of each of these things come new insights and enthusiasm. And who knows who you bump in, to suddenly come up with a new play, a new book to write, a new script to read. In your case, who knows? You might suddenly stand under the shower and think, oh, that's a really good idea. And the next thing is it doesn't leave you, and you just have to write that screenplay. And there you are. And it has happened to so many.
Well, who knows? I've never been to New Zealand, and I've never been to Australia. I've always wanted to go come for a visit in both places. So who knows, one of these days I might be down there.
Oh, yes, please. Yes, please, Andrew. I'll show you the behind the scenes tour. That will be cool.
Yeah, I just think enjoy the moment in your life. That's what I think is what I'm realizing. It's just, because it's the moments in our lives that, can be very special. Because when people go, then it's then you have those moments to remember.
So true, man.
I just true. But we live on. We live on. That's the most important thing, is just to move forward, because so
love it. I love it. Andrew, thank you so much for coming onto my show and for sharing some of your insights, some of the highs and lows, and essentially to shed light on this ongoing transformation that is happening in you, and this ongoing quest to be a new man, a better man, and realizing that you've got the privilege to do so, that you have got the chance to reinvent yourself at any one moment in time, just as much as maybe a new role comes along in which you can practice being the narcissistic asshole, or you can practice being the how it feels like to be actually some really good influencer, such as the teacher that you have highlighted. Who knows what roles will will come into your life and in turn affect you. Because I assume so, isn't it? I mean, when you take on a role, you can't just take it off like a jacket. It will stay with you, isn't it?
The thing is you put yourself into the role.
Yeah.
So you're giving, so you're being very vulnerable in the role, and you're being very raw. And it's, I'm still working, training when it comes to being an actor, because it's amazing. People think that being an actor, it's very easy. It's just like any other job, really. It's really, you're having to peel away the layers of like not over dramatizing. It's real. Acting is real, and some people, all of a sudden when the camera comes on them, it's like, oh well, I'm so very sad. He's very hurt me very much. It's like, oh my God. And it's like no. I mean, I used to be like, so that's more like over theatrical, and the top was like those campy X-rated movies that you that you see. It's like, oh my God. But we it's we all have the chance to reinvent our life,
exactly,
to do something and to course correct. So I just wanted to point that out, because it was very nice when because I just hope that my story inspired you guys that are listening to reinvent yourself and keep reinventing yourself and do something magnificent, because at the end of the day, you're going to be creating this wonderful magical bridge that people will get to walk alongside and witness in your life.
Which is beautiful. Oh,
and thank you for having me.
An absolute honor. Thank you very much, Andrew. Andrew Mondia, a man who is going out there and is living his life with a passion after, like so many of us, going through quite some trials and tribulations. But that's what a good film is all about, isn't it? There is the hero or the anti-hero, the guy that we focus on, and the choices that he makes. And he has to live with the consequences. And there will be a nice part in the middle where there's lots of fun and games. And then there will be the dark night of the soul. And then finally, our hero will come to the end of the film. And that's ultimately, we have got the same story arcs in us. We just need to live them in a more conscious way and understand that the dark nights of the soul, they are part and parcel of you. They are there. You can't do anything about them. They will come. It's just a matter how you play it out. And if you let them really come deep, deep, deep inside, or if you learn techniques and skills that maybe protect you a little bit more and maybe serve you a little bit better. So there's a beautiful life waiting for you guys out there. Please do not give up. If there were a few triggers in Andrew's story, and some flashbacks are happening to you, treat them like old acquaintances. They are not nice people, not nice flashbacks, not nice memories, but they come back for a reason, and maybe it is time for you to address them and to heal some more, and therefore become a better human being. So this is what is waiting for all of us. Right. Cool. Andrew, I'll let you go. Thank you so much for being a guest on my show. And you guys out there, live with passion. Bye.